Hi and welcome back to the HaPi Podcast. One of the big objectives of this podcast is to try and remove some of the barriers of knowledge sharing that can exist from time to time within our industries. I'm going to be speaking to a variety of different people who are in a position to offer those different solutions and are currently doing that. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Yes, and welcome back, everyone, to another episode on the HaPi Podcast on a freezing cold, blustery Scottish day. And I'm sure it's the same across the UK, and Alex will back me up on that in a second. I'm delighted today to welcome Alex Riley with me. Alex, I know well, and this is a special one for me in many ways because in recruitment, you are privileged to be part of somebody at maybe the early start or very start of their career, right through to seeing how they progress and going on and up the ladder on different things. And this is an example of that today with Alex. So I've been lucky enough to recruit him into his current role, which we're going to talk about in a second, and just to see how he's blossomed and progressed and moved on and up the ladder. So Alex, welcome. Great to see you. Confirm with everybody that it's also a bogging day where you are as well, will you?
Yeah, definitely down in Leeds, still in the north of England, of course, not quite far as north of yourself, but yeah, definitely cold.
So,
definitely cold.
Great to see you, and I do appreciate you giving me some time. So as I ask everybody to do, and I've said this before, I do believe that everyone has a story, and I know a little bit about your story and your background, Alex. So do you want just to kick us off, just giving us a little bit of background to yourself and your career journey and what you're doing just now, and then we'll go on to talk about a few other things as well.
Yeah, of course. So thank you very much for having me on, and well, as we'll come on to, but thank you for placing me where you did, because it's treated me quite well so far. So I think so. Starting back at university, did psychology. Not really with much of a purpose other than to go get a degree, and something that I found quite interesting at the time, and still do. But left there, not really much idea of what it is I wanted to do. Wasn't going to be a psychologist, so it was a little bit out into the world. Did fancy sales of what sort, I wasn't completely sure. So as I know a few people did, and I know you'll know this very well yourself, went into recruitment to begin with. It was IT recruitment.
I forgot that, actually. No, genuinely, I forgot that. But yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
So that was a steep learning curve straight out of university. Welcome to the real world. So IT recruitment, but it was a real small company, very competitive environment, and learned a lot of resilience very quickly, I think is probably safe to say. But put me in good stead, I think. Then I went on to actually work in sales for a health and fitness club, which I loved that job. I wanted to be in the health and fitness industry, really. It was a passion of mine anyway, having played rugby as a kid. So, I went to there and sold memberships for a health club, a premium health club. And that was a brilliant job. Learned so much. It was real black and white sales. Again, resilience. Probably not quite as resilient as I had to be in IT recruitment, but I'd learned that well. And you just meet people from all walks of life, and you've got to adapt to those sort of people. So I found that really enjoyable. It was very commission heavy. Had to hit your commission because it was going to be a tight end of the month otherwise. So again, that was a sort of a motivator there. But I thought after a bit of time there, I thought, okay, what's next? And what career path? Sort of what industry do I want to be in? And somebody that I knew who worked in industry said, "Oh, be a medical rep. Be a pharma rep." And I was like, "What's that?" Which is quite ironic, really, because as a kid, both my parents were in the NHS and spent evening after evening for years and years and years listening to medical chat around the table. They vowed that I would never, even if I was clever enough to be, never be a doctor, not be a pharmacist, no chance. And ironically, then ended up working side by side in partnership with the NHS, just on the other side of the fence. So they were more surprised than I was, I think, when I told them that I'd moved into pharma. Started in big pharma in primary care, and I learned a lot there. And I think I was very lucky there that I had a secondary care sales guy who just took me under his wing, taught me all the good things to do, from buying the right lunches for the nurses, all the sort of the bread and butter stuff, the basics, through to, the sales call approach, everything like that. So had a real good ground in there in big pharma, and then obviously that's after that when I met yourself. Very grateful to do so, as you were the one who placed me at Medac in secondary care, sort of oncology sales, wasn't it? The role that I went into there, and obviously jumped to that opportunity. And since then now I'm on my 4th role within Medac. I've been lucky enough to sort of progress within the company, moved into marketing, product management, as group product manager, so taking on more and more products, and now as the sort of head of the market department, head of product management, in a role with the marketing team, and got the national account managers as well in our team who work on the more niche indication products. So quite a sort of a vast array of therapy areas and products that I've been exposed to at Medac.
You joined, obviously you've gone from big pharma to very, very small pharma, and I'm sure you probably noticed a difference in some ways, pros and cons of both sides of the fence, and on that. But I think I always knew when I first met, we first spoke to you, that the ambition was there, the drive was there, the self-belief was there, and that clearly came across when you went and met the guys from Medac, and that side as well. They've benefited from that. You've benefited from being part of them as well, haven't you? In terms of they've delivered, they've given you different roles to go and do, and given you that exposure, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you say, massive difference from big to, and it is small pharma. The bigger outfit in Germany and across Europe, far more employees, right. And sometimes you can forget you're part of that bigger sort of company, because there's a smaller number of us. But I think on the benefits, I think they've been fantastic for me in terms of the development, things like that, just the exposure to multiple products and more opportunities probably than it will take you probably a lot longer to get those opportunities in bigger pharma. It's just the nature of it, isn't it? So we've it's been been great, and I'm very happy to be in the position that I'm in at the moment. It's worked out well.
Yeah, it has indeed. Good, excellent, good to hear that. I think it's always, but people are watching or listening to this, that they can listen to where people have come from and where they are now, and a variety of different. It's the good thing about this podcast. I've had a completely different variety of people on the podcast, and people who are not completely related to pharma, to people like yourself who are in pharma every single day. So you're in a role just now which is in marketing, and it's in product management. And although it's not a direct sales role, you're still there representing Medac. And innovation has been a key topic in this latest series of the podcast. So you're in a role. Would you say that you're in a role just now that is there to try and develop innovative ideas, bring together innovative ideas? Would you say that's something that is looked upon for you in this role?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that is the idea of a marketing department, is to sort of be innovative. But as you rightly say, and I strongly believe that you are still selling the whole time. It's marketing and sales that go hand in hand. So, and I know that there can be, we have, again, fortunate part of a smaller company is there's no need to have unnecessary divides. So you've got a sales and marketing department. So we always work very closely with the sales team, whatever the product is, always that, because they're the ones that are on the ground, and ultimately you are coming up with innovative solutions to problems or to improve processes that are on the ground. So if you don't have that sort of continuation through to the ground and the actual reality of how that's going to affect the customer, which is most times via your sales team, your key account manager, then there's no point in you sitting at home and trying to think of these things. I think innovative is what you would try and say you're trying to do. There's no doubt that in pharmaceuticals, with the regulations and everything like that, innovation's different. I think, people would, you think of innovative, you're thinking of brand new concepts, wild ideas, something that's never been thought of before, and they're great. I'd say that probably less frequent, if we're being honest, in pharmaceuticals. There's a lot of processes that are in place for a reason within the healthcare system because they work. And if innovation in many senses is trying to just improve or aid those processes more. Yeah. So it's not a brand new concept. It's something that's already happening. It's like, how can we get the best out of it? How can we improve it? Yeah. So I think, innovative is what we'd like to say that we're doing. But what innovative is maybe slightly different than in other industries.
That's a good point, because one of the podcasts I had with somebody that's early on in this series, we were talking about, like, don't always have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to. Innovation sometimes is perceived as, we have to have this brand new fancy that nobody's ever heard of before. Actually, that's not always the case, because innovative can also be bringing. I mean, look, for example, you look at some pharma companies that have got products. I think Medac have been in this situation. Maybe products that you have maybe sat in the cupboard for a while and you've not done anything with, so to speak, and all of a sudden an opportunity presents itself and you bring that product back out, you remodel it, and you present that as an innovative solution to somebody who's never seen it before, as well. So I am a great believer in that. I'm all for new ideas, absolutely. But I think it's also a case of that new idea might actually be right in front of you. That innovative idea might be right in front of you.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that is again another example of sort of what we do at the moment. Is you look at trying to reshape, remodel, and not reinvent, but improve something that's already there. So if that's a new indication for a product, that there's potential for it that is at the moment unlicensed. So if you would go but it's a really old molecule, for example, or you've got a way of administering that drug differently that will improve patient care, that'll improve waiting times, whatever that is innovative in its own way. And I think that is the nature of being in a smaller company, is that you don't have the bigger budgets for R&D. These sort of things that they're not just going to, you don't have a pipeline of these brand new sort of innovative molecules, whatever that might be, that's coming along, and the next big blockbuster. So you do have to get a little bit, arguably, more innovative in a different way with what it is that you've got in front of you.
How important, you and I had a quick discussion about this previously as well, but how important is it that we work in partnership with the NHS, effectively the end user, when we're creating or trying to create innovative solutions or innovative ideas?
Yeah, like we said previously, I think that it is the most important part, really, for us anyway. And that's from my experience. People might have, other ideas. Someone could, you're thinking of this next massive innovative thing, and you could sit at home for years and years and years, and maybe it'll come through, maybe it won't. But in the meantime, you could have gone and taken the ideas that are already out there within the customers themselves. They're the ones that are practicing day in, day out. They know where the pain points are. They know what the problems are. They know the processes that could be improved. And they've already got the ideas. So you just have to be willing to listen to them and take them on and work with them to do that. We do have, in the industry, have the resources to be able to make these processes or improving these processes a reality. Whether it's moving away from paper-based systems, as simple as that, and coming up with an app. An app's not really innovative these days. Everything's in an app. But if to that customer group, that is innovation, because they've not had it that way before. Or to the patient, in recording certain symptoms or whatever it might be, tracking certain things, that is innovative to that patient group again. And it's probably happening in other therapy areas. But if it's not happening for the customers within your therapy area that you're working in, that is innovation in its own way. And I think that we've been a beneficiary of customers' ideas and working with them on a number of occasions. And my other thought on that as well is, we can't go up to a group of HCPs, nurses, consultants, and say, we've come up with this idea, we've sat at home, we've thought of this, we're sure it'll work. And because they're going to tell you straight away whether or not it does or it doesn't. So
absolutely, if
it's come from somebody who it is that you are trying to improve the service for, you've got a much better chance of getting it right. And I think that's really key. I think it could be quite no one really likes to be told, oh, this is going to improve your life.
Correct.
If they've no understanding of what it is that your problem is. So I think that it's almost half the battle is to have somebody to work with you on whatever it is that you think is a good idea and tell you where you might be going wrong or where it's going to land.
I couldn't agree more with you on that. And we see that in the recruitment world as well, where you're trying to, again, not completely reinvent the wheel. Our job from a recruitment perspective, and my day job is to fill the vacancy that client's asked us to fill. But on occasions, there will be a need for us to try and re-steer that, or to try and think of a slightly different approach or different way of potentially approaching candidates or whatever, which in some ways might be innovative, but actually you're working with the client in partnership and saying to them, what would you expect? What are you looking for in this? What can I do to help make your life easier on a daily basis? And that's, that's, I'm sure in subtle terms, the message that you're trying to go to your customers with.
Is that what innovative is great, but it's got to be practical too.
Yeah.
And I think that's you can get lost in the world of innovation, if that's what we want to call it. And actually, it never really comes to anything of any meaning. So I think it's always got to relate back to what are you trying to solve? What's the problem you're trying to sort of fix? What's the issue you're trying to solve? And then if you're always got that in the back of your mind, you're much more likely to stay on track and actually deliver something worthwhile.
You've got a team now. I mean, you look after a team now, and we've been fortunate enough to help you in that team, help you recruit one or two people into that team fairly recently. Do you look to them, to try and bring new ideas? You've quite an open mind to that, personally, and also within the business, to say, let's bring ideas, let's bring them all to the table, and some will get filed in B for bin, and some will be looked at. Do you think that's the right approach?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it B for bin. I think that would go down badly. But no, absolutely. I think that I think that absolutely, you've got to be open to it. That's the whole point in having a team around you. And I guess one of the things in a smaller company, you don't have as many minds. You don't have as many different people, different opinions in there, which, having just done a round of recruitment, bringing in people from other companies, I think it's an absolute, it's a breath of fresh air for me personally, because, I've been with Medac now for 7 years, so I could be very much, I'd like to think I'm not, but getting blinkered, getting sort of stuck within Medac and that mindset. And I'd like to think that we're always open to new ideas, but you bring in new people, they're going to have new perspectives, new ideas, new experiences that you've not had. So I think you've got to be open to that. And I think on that note as well, agencies are fantastic to work with different agencies. Again, in smaller company, you've got to do that, because sometimes even just for workload, you can't manage it as much on your own. There are certain things that it's helpful to sort of pass out into agencies, but a lot of the time it's actually the creative ideas that they've got. And we work with a number of agencies, and we try and expand that all the time, because again, it's same sort of approach of just taking on new ideas. And like I say, got to be open to them, because otherwise you're never going to change or grow or have the next great idea.
I think, again, you've put a good point there, because I think sometimes in companies we just think, we can do this ourselves. We can look at this ourselves, and actually there are times where it's good to admit, actually, no, we don't have that mind here within the business. We don't have somebody to do that. So let's look externally. Let's go and talk to some people and bring in a different perspective or a different view, a different angle. And we've certainly done that within Evolving, a couple of different things. And I know that you guys do that, and other pharma companies do it. So that's good. But having that space within your team to present ideas that might not get used just now or potentially never, I think is really key. It's really key.
And I think it's not, again, this is where I say it's the marketing and sales function. And no matter what the size of the business is, I think the sales guys will have so many good ideas, because whether or not they know it, they're taking in more and more information than we are from the customer on a day-to-day basis. And whether or not they've definitely identified how to address the situation that they see, if they're feeding it back, it's something that, and if we see it's a common theme, it's something that we know that we need to listen to. So I think it's really important for any company and whatever team you're in to make sure that you're collecting the information from the people that are on the ground. And I say the sales guys, because they are the sort of the within the department that I work in, and that's sort of the key source of information. But you've also got your other side, your meds info teams, people like that, who receive maybe it's complaints, maybe it's queries, and is there something that we could be doing there? So I think having a good relationship across the whole company, within no matter what the department, and being able to have that space for everyone to come in and offer their thoughts, experiences, ideas, I think it's great. And I think, again, probably easier in a smaller company because there are less of you. It's easy to get all the people together that you want in one room to discuss it. It should be an active effort to make sure that happens regardless of what company you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me maybe put you slightly on the spot here, although you and I had a quick, obviously, pre-call about this. But I mean, you're still relatively young in terms of your experience in the industry and experience in this type of role. But you've probably seen some innovative ideas that have been presented over the years that you've gone, do you know what? That is really smart. That is really clever. Is there anyone, and again, you don't need to mention companies or brands, etc., but is there any kind of particular innovative idea or solution that you can remember that you go, yeah, do you know what? That was good, and this is why it was good. This is the difference it made, or whatever.
Yeah, put me on the spot there. I mean, I'm sort of thinking more about ideas that we have heard within Medac that's come from a customer. Wasn't literally not I'm not going to claim any part of that idea. And it was for an app that I briefly mentioned up earlier, and it was to improve or to track patient side effects, but therefore improving outcomes is the ultimate goal. And wasn't my idea, and it got proposed to me. And at first, I was like, is that going to work? I was the skeptical one. And I was quickly told why it would work by this nurse. She told me, she set me straight away. And yeah, we rolled with it. We went with it, and we launched it. Well, we've had we tried to launch it pre-lockdown, but literally as we launched it, but we just launched it now. And and I think that is truly, I think, innovative. I'm not saying an app's innovative, like I say, but I really do think that idea there, if we weren't able to take that idea and take it on board and actually work with it, then there isn't the resources to sort of necessarily do that within the NHS. So that's, I think, a great example of innovative ideas, nothing to do with me. I just sort of helped the process happen. But actually, I think more of anything, it's a great example of collaboration. And I think that's really key. And then there's another proposal we've got on the table at the moment, which I would say is very innovative. Again, it's sort of come from an agency, but come from conversations that we've had with them and stuff that we've got from the ground. And I think this is another example of too many cooks can spoil the broth completely, but if you've got the right people in the room, the more heads in there that are contributing and sort of taking information and assimilating it, I think you will end up with some very good outcomes. So got to be open to sharing and got to be open to listening.
Yeah, without a doubt. good. And you're right. You said you went with that idea you're talking about, and the nurse said, "No, this will work." You know, and that's good to hear when you're going to the end user and they're telling you, "No, this will work," and that gives you confidence that it's going to work. Because you can trial it, as much as you want internally and such like, but that gives you confidence that no, this is going to work if a nurse is saying it's going to work. So
and it gives the guys on the ground, when they're passing it on to their customer, this is not, they're not trying to sell anything, they're just trying to provide an improvement, hopefully, to the nurses' day-to-day processes and therefore and the patient's outcomes as well, ultimately. But however, we do have that peace of mind knowing that we were literally told this will work, and I think that's quite reassuring to know. It's like, okay, you've got to go there with that confidence, and it's not going to be perfect for every person, of course not. It's not magic, but it will definitely, and has been proven already, to have some really good outcomes.
Good outcomes. Good. So we've talked a little bit about you and your story, and just obviously sharing some ideas on innovation. As I've touched on, you're still relatively early in your career, and you're, I'm sure, going to continue to go on the way up within Medac or whatever happens to you in the future. There'll be people watching this, I hope watching this or listening to this, that will be really interested to know how you've managed to progress, and you've shared how you've managed to progress. But if you can offer somebody, maybe in a similar situation to yourself, where you've been some advice and some guidance on, look, this is what I did. This might help you, or some tips of how to progress in a career or move on. What kind of things would you offer?
Can't believe you're asking me for sort of tips for people. No, I think obviously having the ambition, having the drive to want to sort of progress is key. That goes without saying. But I think maybe looking at what progression is the best way to do it. So people think, progression up, I'm going for that next step. But that doesn't necessarily come around as quickly. And actually, you're not always prepared for that next step up if you've not really explored or maximized the opportunity within that role itself. So I think if you go into the product management side of it in particular, what I found was so beneficial to me, and ultimately, I guess, to sort of my progression, was just always be willing to take on new opportunities. So if that's a new product or exploring a new therapy area, you will go into that therapy area and it will be a completely different game to the one that you're in at the moment. So therefore, you've learned a different way of thinking, you've learned a different customer group, you've learned different customer needs, patient types. I think that for me was the one thing that I'm really glad that I've done the whole way, to just always saying yes. And sometimes you think, do I really want to be taking on more? Well, I think that you regret it more if you didn't take on that next product or whatever the opportunity is. So I think being open within the current position to exploring more opportunities will ultimately help you to progress to the next step as well.
One of the things I would say to candidates, certainly the stage that you were at in your career when you first came in, is be as flexible as you possibly can, whether that be on location, a job profile, etc. Because the more flexible you can be now, the more picky you can be later on. Because at the stage of career that people come in, especially when you come in as a relatively new rep, you did have a lot of experience previously in sales and dealing with people, but a lot of people don't have that. And the best way to get that experience is be as flexible. Try, and if there's an opportunity for you to move elsewhere and get that experience elsewhere, then that's key as well. So, and you've shown that because you've moved around a little bit and you've travelled, etc. But would you say that that's pretty accurate as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that also taking those opportunities, you'll learn what you don't want to. If you take on a new sort of role. So say my move towards marketing, if I didn't try that, it could have been something I would stayed in sales the whole time and I'd got further down my career. So I wish I'd tried that then. And if I knew back then that I didn't want to do it, then I knew that sales was for me, for example. So the earlier you can try any opportunities that are given to you, I think the better that either that's the one or you've learned. Either way, you've learned. I think you either know it's the one, it's not the one, or maybe, you could combine that into a role later, further down the line. But I think flexibility is key, whether that's location, whether that's role. I think that whether it's product type, even exact same role, but selling a different product, it doesn't have to just be marketing. It's just exposure to more. I think especially early on allows you to decide where it is you want to be.
You've been lucky as well, Alex, I think, because I know some of the people you've worked with, you've had good people around about you. Personally as well, you talked a little bit about your family there as well, but I think also, within your current role, within the current business, you've had good people, you've had a mixture of really experienced people to people who are less experienced and sharing different ideas, but it's given you the opportunity to bounce ideas off a variety of different people as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And, whether those people are marketing, their sales, their medical, whatever it is, there's so much that they have that I won't have. And, I always think that that's really key to have a team around you that fills all the gaps that you can't fill. Yeah. That's going to ultimately end up in success, I think. And you'll learn so much from them. I've worked with certain people and I just think, I wish I had your brain. But there must be some things, hopefully, that I can do that they can't. I'm not 100% sure, but you'd like to think so. Yeah. But it's always the way. You've got to have the respect, the admiration for those people that know all the things that you don't. And if you can pick some up, great. But if you can't, then you just know where to go and get that information from. So being open to, in this way, it comes back to different departments as well. Not just sales and marketing, appreciating how much input the other departments have into the overall success of the business is
Absolutely.
crucial.
Yeah. And especially in pharma, no matter what size of pharma company you are, you'll still have a medical department. You'll still have, administration, IT department will still be there, maybe less people, but, everybody has a part to play in it and should feel valued by that. So,
yeah.
Great stuff. Listen, this has been really good, very insightful. It's been a real privilege personally to see you progressing and continuing to do well, and no doubt that will continue for years to come. But just to share some time with you to learn from you, and I'm sure people watching and listening to this will be able to learn something and take something from it. So, thank you for giving me some of your time today, Alex. It's been really good. I really value that.
Not all. Thanks very much for having me on. It was great to have a chat.
Good stuff. Thanks, Alex. Okay, thanks.
Cheers,
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.